So there is this rule or saying out there that says only risk 1 to 2% of your account per trade. It's kind of a good saying, it's kind of a good rule, but I think it's very important for you guys to understand why and to understand what's going to be the good fit for you, because that rule, 1 to 2%, might not be a good fit for you. And I want you guys how to determine how much you risk per trade, and I want to guide you through why I decided myself to use a 1% risk measure per trade. So here's what I want you to understand. The amount of money you risk on a trade depends on two things. First of all, yourself and your trading strategy. Now let's talk about yourself a little bit, because different people have different, what we would call kind of risk profile. What are comfortable losing before they get uncomfortable. And if you risk too much, you will more likely have a drawdown, get uncomfortable, and go in a drawdown even further, which is not what you want. So for most people, I think this is like the biggest aspect that they don't think about. After losing 20 or 30% of their account, they wonder what they did wrong, but they didn't understand that part of it is them that are not comfortable with losing that amount of money. And that's totally fine. You need to understand that very, very well. Now the other part, the second part, has to do with your strategy. And we've talked about that many times on the channel. I've done countless videos on that topic. How to calculate your risk of ruin. You want to get to a point where based on your strategy that you trade, your risk of ruin is 0. And that will allow you to know how much you can risk on a trade maximum. Like what is the maximum you can go through. And it doesn't mean that you can risk that per trade, because of part 1. Part 1 is yourself. If you risk too much, or if you risk at this limit, then you're not going to feel good if you have a drawdown. And that's just not going to work. So you need to combine these two things at the same time. Once you know kind of what you're comfortable with. This takes practice, of course, but once you know it, then you can decide how much you want to risk per trade. Okay? And you can either make it hard or easy. You can either make it complicated or simple. And that is, do you want to risk the same amount per trade, or you want to calculate every single trade, have a different amount for every single trade? Okay, that's kind of how I see things. But since I want to make things simple for myself, I risk the same amount per trade. And most likely this will mean that you risk a little bit less, because your strategy might have different win rate, different reward to risk possibly. And so if you want to risk the maximum on every strategy, maybe it's going to be too much for the other strategy. So I personally reduce it a little bit to make sure I can risk the same amount on all strategies. So let's get back to kind of what I do now. It's going to be more personal. But I personally, you guys know, risk 1% per trade. That's kind of my average rule. There are always exceptions, like in any field, any practice, any discipline. But here's how it works. Based on my risk of ruin, I think I could go all the way to probably 2 or 2.5% per trade of risk. But I found out pretty fast that having drawdowns with that amount per trade, this is going to be 10 trades of drawdown, which happened in the past, okay? It would be like 25%, which for me is way too high. It's like crazy. And I've basically implemented that when I started to trade for other people. I used to risk 2% per trade myself, would work fine, I would make a good return. But once I got to trade for someone else, I found out 25% drawdown wouldn't make very much sense. And probably people would not be happy if I were to lose that for other people. So I reduced that to 1%. And I know 1% is like less than half of this amount, 2.5%. So I know for a fact that this can be traded on all time frame responsibly. Okay, and the stats on the 1 hour chart trades as opposed to the 4 hour chart trade and the daily chart trades are fairly similar. Although the daily chart recently don't perform too well, that's just because of the market condition. So I don't typically take those trades. But the other ones, 1 hour chart, 4 hour chart, are pretty much the same. The 1 hour chart setup might work a little bit better because it's easier to get a move from the 1 hour chart. But overall, it's pretty much the same. Okay, and I could adjust for everything, but I don't think it's really necessary. By aiming a little bit lower, I'm sure that things will work out. Okay, and that the drawdown I have at the end of the month or the year won't be too bad. And I won't scream because I lose 25% of my account or more. But I'll be happy because I lose, let's say, 10% and I can get back pretty fast. So that's the basic difference. Hope that makes sense. And now I got here yesterday in Poland. I was flying from Bucharest to here. Quite an adventure as always. A lot of travel as always. But I was finally get back in time a little bit. I want to show you guys the travel part. So let's rewind a little bit. Good morning traders, welcome back to Romania in Bucharest. Last time here on the balcony. I'm just ready and on time to leave for the airport. Let me get the Airbnb and we'll head to the airport. So guys, exactly 12 days ago I was sitting here at the airport. This is the domestic flight arrival place. And I came here specifically for one thing, because there's a supermarket on the left. And that's the cool hack. Whenever you want to find something cheap in an airport, go to the supermarket, always super cheap. And that makes it easier to not spend a bunch of money on something ridiculous. So that's pretty cool. And let's wait for the flight. I don't know how the driver managed it, but it says in Uber it takes 40 minutes to get to the airport. I think he did it in like 20 minutes, which is crazy, but I have a bit of time to wait, and I'll get back to the departure. I guess I'm really not performing well when I get sick and I get to the airport. So I didn't do the online check-in with Wizz Air, because I thought that was unnecessary. And I get here to the airport, ends up costing me €35 for the weird thing to check in, like it's ridiculous cost. Only because I didn't do the check-in online, which is a weird thing for sure. So, but the thing is that I asked the girl at the counter what's written on the email and the confirmation that you have to pay for check-in if you don't do it online. And she said it's written somewhere. She wouldn't tell me where. And I searched through all the email, not written anywhere. But anyway, you have to deal with that stuff sometimes. I just really don't perform well. Anyway, let's stop complaining. I will enjoy my sandwich and take a look at the airport. Made it to Poland. Welcome to Warsaw. I was looking at all of this and I think it's gonna be a good place to explore tomorrow, but now I've been spending the last like 2-3 hours trying to upload a video from yesterday, the weekly review, so you guys can get it on time, but it's gonna be late a little bit. Also the Airbnb proposed to order some food. It's like Chinese food in Poland. I'm not sure it's gonna be good, but take a look at this. It should be fine. Looks not too bad. For 17 PLN, I'm not sure what's the name here, but it's pretty cheap, I think. And the cool thing about this Airbnb is that there's a kind of a view on this building right there on the other side of the street. It's like a massive, beautiful building, so it's pretty cool. Give a like if you enjoyed the video today. As always, comment below with your thought, and I'll catch you here tomorrow in Warsaw, Poland. Ciao.